What's something that you've done while horny and you regret it? Drove 1,200 miles. Asked my wife if she was interested in us getting a butt plug. She gave me a confused look and said, "If you're into it." Sure. And then after purchasing realized that we both had different ideas on who it was for. Edit. Wow. I've never had a post get this much attention. So, this is one of the most mortifying things to ever happen to me. To anyone who didn't see my reply. I was intending the butt plug to be for her. Because we'd done some light butt play before. But when I asked about it, she thought I wanted to use it. It's buried in a closet somewhere. Still in its packaging. To this day I'm still too embarrassed to bring it up. And needless to say, she's not very interested in a butt plug. The worst part is, I picked out like a medium size and thinking back. She was like, "Oh. Okay. Go big or go home I guess. Babe. Thanks for the awards y'all." When I was about 12 to 13, I had just learned about sex. One day I was super horny and was playing with my dad's back massager. I quickly realized that it felt really good to press it on my dick. I took it into my bedroom and went to town. My mom was walking by and heard the noise so she just let herself in. Needless to say things were weird after that for a bit. And she hid the massager. When I was a stupid teen, I put an ice cube in my vagina. My reasoning was that if hot water felt nice, maybe something extremely cold would. It did not feel nice. It was horrible. And I couldn't remove it. 3 minutes of agony. Using shampoo to jerk off. Worst piss pain ever. I was edging for 3 hours. Had the idea that tying my dick with a shoelace would hold everything together for at least another hour. It held on for 2 and nutted so hard I felt some pain on my abdomen and legs. Took me an extra hour to sleep and the next day my whole body was fatigued. Thought I twisted my testicle or some shit. I recovered after around 48 hours. Edit. Thank you for the awards. Also for context. I live alone and life got stuck in limbo when the pandemic ramped up. I edged from 8 p.m. to sometime past 1 a.m. I had no regard for health. Which explains my lack of hydration, so no, it wasn't drugs. I was just an idiot. I probably still am. No. It was never a good idea in the first place. That was sort of the point. Yes, it was the best nut of my life. Me and my friend were supposed to take a visiting foreign professor for drinks. After a couple of beers the guy told us that he wanted to see some women. We took him to a soft-core strip club. After the first beer the guy said that he wanted something more extreme. Prostitution is legal in my country and we took the guy to probably the largest bar with sex workers of our city. It was a bizarre place and after few minutes our reputable visiting academic sealed the deal with a lady. The guy went with the lady to her room and came back after about 15 minutes. Suddenly the guy said that he was tired and wanted to head back to his hotel. On the ride back, the guy started weeping and telling us about his family and giving us advice about why we should love and respect our partners. I had never seen so much post-nut regret in my life. Sad guy. In my early teen years, I accidentally made my clit burn using Vicks VapoRub that was supposed to give it a tingling sensation. I watched way too much BDSM and got ideas. I was in immense pain and was lying spread out under cold water to try and make it stop. And I couldn't tell my extremely religious parents or they would have freaked out. Not my story. But my old bandmates. So here we have a horny teenager. He was maybe 16 at the time and he just came out as gay this year. He had been experimenting and we were bros so he would always overshare these experiences. Well, one day he tells me he had made a huge mistake. He really wanted to know what something bigger than his fingers felt like. And he had heard of people using cucumbers as dildos. That said, he only had pickles at home. He did not however account for the vinegar and spices. I don't know the pain he felt. But I do know he regretted it immediately. Edit. This is the most upvoted thing I've ever had on Reddit. For what it's worth he played bass. Thanks guys. Asked a escort to come over to my house at 2 a.m. instead of jerking off like ya know for free. Well, she and 3 other guys ended up kicking in my door and robbing me and my house. 0 tenths never again. Edit. Holy shit, thank you for the awards. This is my most popular comment by far. I appreciate you all. Almost got a bar of soap stuck in my booty hole. Edit. Wow, thanks for the awards guys. I can't believe my first comment to blow up is about the time I became a human soap dispenser. Got jizz in my ear. Ended up with an ear infection. Try explaining to a doctor what the foreign liquid is in your ear when you're 15. Hey guys, thank you for the awards and upvotes. For clarification, this happened in 1987 and was purely accidental. Tried to suck my own dick while taking a bath while with hips up. Surprise surprise, tubs are slippery and I ended up with my neck caught under my arm as I did a back roll and landed on my side. Involuntarily gasped in pain and began to choke on water. Almost drowned in my own fucking bathtub. My neck also hurt like hell for a week. Edit. No Jesus fuck. Why didn't I post this on a throwaway _? Thanks for the awards. Gonna drown my sorrows in karma. Sex with my ex. The same day I moved out. We had broken up earlier. But it took a couple of months before I managed to find a place to move all my stuff. Afterwards, I just laid there and hugged her hard. Didn't want to let go. Just laid there in a cuddly mess for half an hour. Covered in sweat and other bodily fluids. But most of all, tears. I don't know why the fuck I did that to myself. It was supposed to make us both feel better and relieve stress. But it was just torture. I should have just left much earlier. Preferably when she wasn't at home. You know those silicone-ass things they have in sex shops for like $300? When I was in Montreal in my sophomore year of college, I tried to buy one. My debit card got declined. So I didn't buy it. I got a call from my dad that evening saying someone in Montreal must have stole it from me. And I had to do the talk of shame explaining that I really did do that. Was at bar, ran into the hot girl from high school, she was still hot. We hit it off, had fun for the night, gave her a ride home. I was super horny and thought this was gonna be amazing. She did not invite me inside, so I just went home sad but still horny. So proceeded to pull on the old cum dispenser. Had a great time, felt way better. As I was cleaning up, she calls me and wants me to come over because she is lonely. I think, hey, I might still have some spunk left in my junk. I head over, we start getting frisky and I cannot make the soldier stand to attention. She crying, thinking it's her fault. I tell her what happened and we try again, still can't get it to wake up. Between the alcohol and my balls empty, he was just a limp noodle. She asked me to leave and felt like a pile of shit. Never did hear from her again. Deep heat. Let me tell you now. Ladies and gents. It is not a warming sensation on your most sensitive parts. Post-application I immediately ran to the bathroom. With the remnants of my smoldering member in my hand. Was telling my GF at the time on the telephone later that day. My dad must have overheard. Next time I was hosting a few friends, he walked into my room and said something along the lines of, "Fellas, you be careful on your application of deep heat," and walked out. Edit. It is awesome how much this has blown up and some of the responses are hilarious. Thank you for the awards. I did remember another story involving my father and my budding sexuality. I was all but about 12 years old when I discovered various British newspapers had revealing pictures on page 3. This was a time before the internet. Anyway, one evening my father was going to grab some groceries from our local shop and I'd asked if I could go with him to pick up some newspapers for a school project. He obliged and took me to the shop. Unto this day I don't know how he kept a straight face as I went through about 10 different publications. Looking for the goods. Discarding the papers that were too proper to have pictures in and keeping the ones that did. Finally, I had my selection. We went through the till and the sales assistant made a comment. My father, without skipping a beat, just said, "He's grabbing them for the sports section." Hooked up with a coworker who looked like Mr. Bean, she was a girl. Using the twin percussion handheld back massager on my dick. NGL, it felt really fucking good. But it left a lingering tender feeling that had me walking funny for a bit. Happened when I was but a wee mid-teen. Her name was Annie, and she stalked me for 2 years after that. Not me, but a friend. He drove to another city to lose his virginity. He was up all night with the girl. So he fell asleep on the ride home. Totaled his car. He told his parents he was staying at my house overnight. So it was awkward conversation when he had to call his parents to explain why he totaled his car about 100 miles from home. Edit. He actually did get laid. He said it wasn't worth it. IDK. Anytime I go on a porn binge and have post-nut clarity on some bizarre as shit. Edit. When you go online drunk. Then you wake up the next day to have seen it blow up. Thanks guys. Fucked my landlord. He lived in the same building on the floor below me with his ex-fiancée. It was actually pretty fun until he started monitoring when I was home and knocking on my door when he knew I was home alone. Had to put an end to that REAAAAL quick. My only regret is not getting a discount on rent. Sad face. Enthusiastically went home with a guy who said he had a dog. He had two. Found out from a friend the next time he had just gotten out of jail for homicide. 5 years ago. Boss recruited someone new and introduced them via a WhatsApp group before we met them. New recruit and I started chatting in WhatsApp before we ever met, and I took it too far too fast. Went to meet him that night. I was deeply not attracted to him. And his home was horror story dirty and cluttered. I accepted his weak offer for alcohol and got drunk really fast to avoid facing reality. I felt too bad for him to leave, but I knew the alcohol would help me. Help him. The sex ended up being one of the best I ever had, to date. But he is such a gross person, hygiene and personality. I regret everything about the way it happened. Same year. Swimming in self-hatred. I also fucked the boss of that job. 2 regrets for the price of 1. You're welcome. Jacked off in the shower while laying down in the tub. Shower water raining down from above. It was very nice and ended nicely. Later that day, I went to take a shit. Shit wouldn't come out. And I felt an odd tugging sensation between my ass cheeks. Thought I was dying and started freaking out while I tried to pinch my shit off to investigate. Turns out my jizz had found its way into my ass cheeks while laying down in the tub. Mingled with all my ass hair. And solidified into a gelatinous plaster. Upon shitting, the hair was so fucked together that my cheeks couldn't separate for the shit to emerge. Felt like that Play-Doh hair salon toy. I ended up having such a massacre of shit cum on my ass and hands that I had to get back in the shower just to clean off. Edit. Apparently this officially counts as a self-cream pie? I came onto my best female friend. We'd flirted back and forth for years, so I didn't see the harm in asking. I was super blunt about my interest and she laughed the whole thing off. We talked less and less after that, and now I haven't spoken to her in 2 years. I regret fucking up the best friendship I've ever had to try to get my dick wet. It was so fucking stupid of me. Meticulously cleaned my entire parents' house while I still lived with them. Took hours to shave every from hair off of my body. And lost weight to fit into an overpriced lingerie set. This guy the first was talking to said he was going to come over and rock my world. Literally the day of. As I was sitting there on my bed massaging my legs with lotion to stop the burning from using Nair. He calls me, drunk as shit, to gloat about how he met this girl that let him put it in her butt. They were still going at it while he was talking to me on speakerphone. I just hung up and cried from frustration. They dated for 3 weeks before they broke up because he stole money from her, so I guess I dodged a bullet, so there's that at least LMAO. I was 17 and stupid. Edit. Holy shiz balls. I did not expect so many updates from a dumb story from my stupid teenage charades and shenanigans. Thank you and happy holidays guys. I was 22 and left a bar with a 42-year-old cougar. If that was the bulk of the detail, then no big deal. But when we got back to her place, her maybe 15-year-old son was playing Call of Duty in the living room. Tiny apartment. I probably should have noped out at that point. About 15 minutes later he went to bed. And about 30 minutes later his mom and I were banging on the couch. We did all sorts of stuff and I'm still ashamed. The next morning we went out to her car. And her battery was dead. She left her headlights on. Yeah, she drove us drunk, the night before. She was going to be my ride home. At this point I am excruciatingly hungover. And my phone has the thinnest little red line of battery life. I text a buddy telling him where I am and to please come pick me up with my car. Phone dies. I'm looking at this lady. Wondering WTF I'm doing with my life. And I guess the best idea we had was get a margarita at this shitty Americanized Mexican food joint. It was 10 a.m. I sat there in the outside dining area with this woman. Smoking a cigarette and staring into my slushy shame, wondering how many times her poor kid has seen her mom bring home some random college dude. We finished the margaritas and left the restaurant. As I walked out into the parking lot, now warming in the late morning sun, hangover getting ready to destroy me, I see my car pull into the lot with my buddy behind the wheel. with a shit-eating grin on his face. I hugged the lady. Thanked her. With no exchange of numbers. And noped like I should have 9 hours earlier. Edit. Glad my regret has brought some of you joy. To clarify. Nothing wrong with getting the love on with someone older than you if both parties are legal and consenting. The main issue here is that I still cringe at the thought of what that woman's son must have heard through the thin walls of the apartment. Hopefully he had headphones in. Edit 2. Holy shit. My mom would not be proud. Ruined a jar of peanut butter. I once got a little too enthusiastic with an eggplant emoji-shaped vibrator. And nearly got it stuck inside my back door cavity. I really didn't want to explain to anyone why I needed to go to a hospital. So I actually managed to get it out myself. But only because I already knew that if I panicked I'd make things worse. Don't worry. I would have gone to the if it went any further than my fingers could reach. Here's a bit of advice for all. If you put anything up your butt, please buy it from a sex store that has instructions and ways to prevent having something get stuck. Look up safe ways to enjoy having things up your butt because you could really hurt yourself. You could avoid a very embarrassing and expensive trip to hospital. Edit. Thank you all for the awards. I also love all the fun rhymes everyone has for dildo, butt plug, anal bead safety. They are very fun. Remember kids. Protection is priority. I don't care who you sleep with, just wear a condom. Friend passed away due to a trucking accident. Went on Tinder due to desired needs after a divorce. Took a chick's virginity and later found out she was the friend's sister visiting for the few weeks till they figured out the funeral. Never told anyone about this. When I was young I would ride this huge stuffed bear like a horse. Came out the shower and jumped on it naked and it tickled my nuts so good I just came all over the bear. My first ever nut. I would rush home from school to tickle my balls and just nut and nut and nut on this stuffed bear. Until one day it disappears. So I start humping my pillows the same way and nutting on my pillows, then sleeping on them like an animal. My brother walks in one day. Shows me a porno mag, then takes me to the computer and shows me a porn video. He goes, "Notice how they clean up after?" Among other completely uncensored and straightforward sex talk. Years later we are all drunk at my parents' for New Year's. And my brother brings it up. "Hey, remember when you would fuck stuffed animals and pillows?" I'm like, "You guys knew?" And they tell me how I would just leave the door open and they have seen me just clapping bear and pillow cheeks. Not to mention the massive amount of cum stains on black stuffed animal fur. And how they would all laugh until my brother decided to give me the sex talk so my dumbass could figure out that stroking my dick was the proper way to masturbate and not tickled my little boy balls until completion. Sometimes I still think about it and it makes me shudder in embarrassment. Fucked a couch when I was like 13. I was at a sleepover at my mom's boss's house. I was friends with her kids, and it was like 2 a.m. and my dick was saying it's go time. I heard Shane Dawson or some other YouTuber at the time say they fucked a couch, so I thought I'd give it a go. I cut my dick on the cushion zipper and I think my couch fucking days are over. Edit. Thanks for my first award. A stripper let me jack off in front of her once. That and another time I fucked a hamburger. Not sure if this counts but was about to do it with a guy and discovered we had no condoms. Decided to drive across town to his place. Since he had some. Got in a minor. Not our fault, car accident on the way there. Ended up at the cop station to report it instead of banging. I was 16 or 17. Girlfriend wanted to try some anal for both of our first times. When my parents went to sleep. Okay, cool. Of course. We didn't have any lube. We improvised and thought lotion would suffice. Turns out we were wrong and her asshole burned for a week. Also, shit everywhere on my dick. Perhaps the two have nothing to do with one another. But I was traumatized all the same. Def tried it again with the right products and okay sign. Edit. Well, it's to cool get off work and see that my most upvoted comment ever is an anecdote about failed teenage ass fucking. Never change Reddit. I love you. Took a 23-hour bus ride to meet a stranger in Canada. Edit. First, thank you for the awards. Secondly, since you guys are asking, it was a round trip. The story is actually a little more complicated. I took a bus from New Jersey to Ottawa with very little planning. I had only spoken to this person for a week. I even went out of my way to buy a passport to do this. Keep in mind I was about 18. The trip going up wasn't that bad. but going back was a nightmare. Thankfully the person was real and I wasn't murdered. The sex, however, wasn't worth it, and it definitely wasn't worth the headache of trying to get back home. The problem was that I had gotten a bed and breakfast in Ottawa with very limited public transportation around me. I was probably closer to Carp than Ottawa, so when it came time to leave, I didn't have anyone to drive me to the bus station. I had taken a cab from the bus station in Ottawa to the bed and breakfast. There weren't any cabs available, and the person that I had hooked up with had left. So I had the owners of the bed and breakfast drive me to the bus station. Unfortunately, I arrived an hour late, thus causing me to be stuck in Montreal for over 8 hours waiting for a bus to bring me to NYC. The person at the bus station told me that the next bus will drop me off in NYC at 3 a.m. and that there wouldn't be a bus to bring me to Jersey for 4 hours after I got off. I told them that I would take the risk, because at that point, all I wanted to do was to get back to home. After arriving in NYC, I scrambled to find a way back and decided on taking a train from NYC to Philadelphia and then to Jersey. Altogether it took me longer to get home than it did going to Canada. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.